My name is Shakara Tosha, and I was given that name by the Star People. I'm very connected to the Star Nations. Some people may know them lots of different ways, Arcturians, Pleiadians, that kind of thing. But they're very present in my life and kind of guided me to this place at this time. Also, my spirit name is Shakara Tosha, which means beautiful violet star woman. And I was given that name by Chief Golden Light Eagle, Lakota Elder Chief, who just passed recently. I think what I wanted to share when you asked about the story is everybody has a story, and the story is really important. I think it's very important, like you were mentioning at this time, to share our voices. We can inspire each other in lots of different ways, but I think it's about keeping something alive, something that happened in the past that you put meaning to, and also to share it, and I think this is why we're here right now, is to realize our gifts, to share our gifts, and bring them out and accentuate them and freely express. And I think that's what's going on during this ascension time. So the work that I do is very much about inspiring people to find their original voice, get inspired to create things, to manifest things, and really understand how this energy is changing in the world. It's a very different time right now, and I think all these dimensions, these vibrations are opening up. It's very ancient. We go through these big cycles, but I think this is the time where we become sort of fully integrated and actualized. So that's what my work is about. So to get to how I got there, when I was a child, my mom was an artist, and she was a twin, and her sister, my Aunt Jody, would come over and they'd telepath with each other. And I just picked that up, and I was the youngest of 4 sisters. All my sisters were in New York City, and just fascinating things would go on with me. I would see energies, I'd see orbs, I'd see star people, I could read people's energetic vibrations, and it was just really a magical world. And I think because my mom was an artist, she just kept it open. So I would say, I see something there. She would say, go paint it. She was an artist, and so I grew up having a very supportive environment so the stuff wasn't shut down like a lot of people. And what happened was I started drawing these things and drawing codes and symbols and patterns, and still very much alone, very isolated, and I didn't talk a lot really till I was 21, which is funny. When people know me now, I'm a chatterbox because these energies are coming through so strong. But my sisters were in New York, and when I was about 3, very profound couple things happened. My aunt brought me a teepee from New Mexico, so I also feel a strong connection here to the West. And I would go in that teepee, and I just knew what to do. I would just meditate and put my hands out, and I would sing. Lots of things I couldn't understand, but I was kind of self-educating myself. And then I started feeling these guides and beings and energies, maybe my own spirit guide, whatever you want to call it. And I was being taught things very, very consciously. And this is funny because I really haven't told the story to a lot of people. I mean, a little bit, but I think this is what has culminated into my life's work now, which is really fascinating. So that happened. When I was about 3 or 4, I remember going out in this, we had a big grass area, and just lying down and putting my hands up, and I could feel energy moving through me. It was like I was watching myself from above. It was very strange. I was here, but I wasn't here. And then I felt this big being come behind me. I could actually physically see energy moving back and forth and around my body, and it was like I experienced all my life this thing called synesthesia, which I think a lot of people may know, where all your senses cross. So when I hear songs, I can see colors or patterns or shapes or feel things in very, very profound ways. So I was a very quiet kind of kid, but this being came through that I could see kind of standing behind me, almost like a beam of light. And it said, in your 20s and 30s, you're going to have a really hard time. It's a rough time, but in your 40s and 50s, you'll understand what your mission is. Now go play. So there was an opening or a connection to these higher realms, I think, all my life. Fast forward, I went to art school, so I was an artist, and it was fascinating because I was painting these symbols all my life, elementary school, high school, art school, and got very involved with the art world. My sister was working in a gallery that represented Andy Warhol and Rauschenberg, so early 80s I was hanging out with these people in New York, and I just thought I'd go to New York and get a loft and paint. That's how that would go, and of course it didn't. Lots of things started happening. I had a daughter who's now 23, and amazing singer, and we would just sing to each other, and this very symbiotic relationship. But I was a single parent, went through a lot of challenges with that, and this world started opening up. On one hand, I was in New York. I ended up becoming a web producer and web coder, because I was coding, and all these things started happening. I worked in every industry around the city. I started getting very senior management positions, event planner, coordinator, account manager at Swiss banks and the art world and startup companies and fashion industry, and kind of this gamut of things. And I kept asking myself, why am I going into these different places? And I think it was to have the human experience and understand really from the inside out. So I met lots of people, but was not satisfied. I couldn't find my space. So I would go and walk around New York City at 2 o'clock in the morning, see people doing graffiti and hanging out, and I just couldn't find that place for myself. And I started getting this vision of a chief. I said, what is this? What is this? And then I said to my daughter, we need to find a powwow. I don't know why. We need to find, I have to find this chief. I mean, it was like in a dream time. And I was doing symbol and code work, and I found these symbols that I traced back to this Chief Golden Light Eagle. And these are what he calls 1111 symbols that he brought in ceremony with different people. And it was like, that's the guy. I saw a picture of him. I said, that's my brother. I need to go find him. I don't know why. So he was doing these amazing Star Knowledge conferences that were happening all over the country. And there was one in Palm Springs. So I said to my daughter, we have to go. And so we walked in, and all these amazing people that I had just found online were there, all these elders, but people were talking about everything, Knights Templar and the Sasquatch and the whales and dolphins and indigenous elders. And it was like this amazing gathering. It's like, these are my people. And I walked up to this chief, and it was very interesting. I looked in the sky, and I was taking these 2 pictures, and he was consulting with somebody doing some medicine work. And I went over and I said, I want to show you something. And I showed him, and then he said, just a minute. He was in his regalia and that kind of thing. And he said, come here. And he flipped through his phone, and he showed me he had taken the exact same picture at the exact same time. Those kind of funny coincidences would happen. Anyway, so we went back to New York, and before that I said, I feel a soul connection with you, like you're my brother. And he said, yeah, you're my sister. Maybe, I don't know, past lifetime, maybe in this energetic field. Didn't understand it at all, but I went back to New York. At that time, one of the grandmothers came on the stage, and she started speaking what she called grandmother speak, and somebody else spoke Arcturian, somebody actually here from Sedona. And I didn't understand it, but I immediately recognized it, like an ancient language that I used to know. So I went back to New York, and then shortly after that, this chief and his family invited my daughter and I to come visit, and he was doing sweat lodges at 34 below, freezing weather, and we go in, and we went in, and he said, you're welcome home, this is your family. And so fast forward, we decided to move out there, and so we stayed with him for a little while. So I was doing these sweat lodges for 4 years with him, and the family and other people would come almost 4 years, like every week on the moon cycles. So there was this happening. Then this grandmother came, and I said, I don't know why, but I want to share something. And I started speaking the star language, but it wasn't just one. It was one after another after another. And she was crying and said, this is a heart connection. And then later, another grandmother that we work with came out, and she's very telepathic and talks with her mom. Grandma Chandra is her name. And I was saying these words, and she was saying Pleiadian, Arcturian, this, that, the other thing. And she said, oh, that's you on the 66th dimension named Leuesh Tunila. And your job is to bring these codes into this realm so people can understand and integrate all this stuff. I was like, yeah, I know. And it was really profound. I'm like, didn't understand it. But slowly, this chief really encouraged me. And so I was speaking light language in the sweat lodges, and then bringing in these messages. So he said, I'd like you to speak at one of these conferences. So being an artist, I thought, oh, okay, I'll put some images behind me, kind of a performance piece with some music, and share these light languages and just kind of bring in these messages that I was getting. And it was phenomenal. I stood up and I saw a couple of people in the audience, and it just happened. I just found my flow, and people were like watching, like, and I could feel this energy coming over me that I couldn't understand. I was feeling energies behind me and everything. It was just a swirl of stuff. And I've been doing that now for about 5 years. So I was guided almost 7 years now, probably 5 to 7 years, to leave everything again. You know, my daughter went to Hawaii on her own, very independent, right after high school, and then traveled again. And so I left the house, left everything, put some stuff in storage, and I came out here. So Sedona calls people, you know, these rocks and everything, but there's something very profound about energies coming together. So I started speaking at all these gatherings, conferences, home gatherings, just about these messages. What was profound is the light language was happening, the art was happening. I didn't really understand it, was just kind of flowing, and it was very overwhelming. And I was still very quiet when I was not doing this stuff, and I go out on the land a lot. So even when I was here in Sedona, my friend and I would spend every other day for hours and hours going out and finding petroglyphs in the middle of nowhere and stuff. So there's this really interesting connection of being connected to the land and the elders, and at the same time, like this advanced star energy and star realm, which I have come to know that all these indigenous cultures have stories and histories of star people. You know, they were us or we were them, we came from them, and they were our teachers, and they're coming again. So again, I try to kind of put this together, and then all of a sudden I started getting these downloads. You know, people have visions or messages, but I would see things in the physical. I would see beings when I would go out on the land. I would feel them. I would hear thoughts, see holographic pictures. So it's very kind of hyper-dimensional to me how this works. Again, I really couldn't understand this. I had nobody to talk to, maybe except this chief. And then I would be woken up at these time codes, 222, 333, 444. I'd wake up, I'd have my phone, and I'd type or I'd dictate. So I was using modern technology with this stuff. These guys would come. Sometimes I'd see them around, but the messages that they were giving me were so profound, and it was really about these times, who they were, and each was so diverse. So it started with this Arcturian energy, and then Sasquatch came in, and didn't feel like I had any connection to that. But I realized they're star people. They're here and they can shapeshift in the physical. So all these realms were starting to open up to me. And then all of a sudden this whole group of divine feminine energies were coming in. The white buffalo calf woman was coming and showing me things in dream time with a bundle. And it just fascinating to me. But again, it was hard to kind of explain this to people. And while this was happening, I was writing and manifesting all this art and painting and everything. And it just, I didn't really understand. And what was so profound was they would come, I would feel them around, and then they would give me a teaching every single night or every single morning. And this happened for 7 hours every day for the last 7 years. What was so magical was there were similar but different messages that were coming from each of these guides on every topic imaginable. Creativity, light language, your body system. I mean, it was quantum. Patterns, all this stuff. So I just kept writing. When I met this chief, he said, "You're going to write a book about creation." I said, "I don't understand this." You know, this was still really, really over my head. And all this stuff started accumulating. I didn't know how to put it together, but it was like a puzzle piece, like a Tetris. And it's phenomenal. And then he told me, and I heard, release these codes. So all these messages over and over and over again are kind of different perspectives of the same thing. I think, you know, what's going on in the world, what people call ascension or the shift, is really, you know, releasing these ties that bind, so to speak, these things that we've put upon ourselves, these pathways that we've gone down, these roads, and all this shaking up is to happen. It's part of the process of these bigger cycles to come back together. Is that everybody has a message, everybody is aligned with these codes. Everybody can do what I do. Everybody can do what everybody can do, you know. And it's really important that people find that. You know, this is the time, I think, to listen and see, you know, everything is a sign and information. The idea of a story is so profound because when you look at these indigenous cultures, you know, stories and songs and calling songs and all these things and bundles and history has been passed down, but that's changed. You know, a lot of people haven't carried that on, or young people don't want to, and I think it's so important to look at that and these ancient ways because they're so connected with the land, the tribes that are really, really involved that way. But look even farther back, you know, so what we think of history is something that's kind of been told to us. It's a story, usually by the victors, and we have to retell a story. We have to, what I'm being shown is it's important to evolve it. You know, this is what these generations, new generations are. So these children that are coming in now, I think they're really high vibrational, they're really wired, they're completely aware, they're all telepathic, they may not say so. Yeah, so all this to say, I think this time it's important to know that we all came back at this time. Maybe we have been all those people, or maybe we have been these star nations, star people and energy, but it's very normal. What's interesting with this light language, I'll explain a little bit about my understanding of that. You know, how it's happened to me is it's just a higher symbolic communication. I think just like technology, you know, we use computers and phones. I think this is a kind of a precursor to get us into a more telepathic understanding. So anything can be good or bad based on how you interpret it or how you want to view it, like anything in the world, I think. But it's really the key messages that I've learned throughout all this, from this chi, from my experience of really learning as I'm going along from all these different people. Everybody's my teacher. And especially these higher vibrational energies is, it's very important to honor things. So like, for example, when I'm in Sedona and I go out on the land, I'll bring some tobacco, I'll say a prayer, sing a song, to give something back. And it's really the gift of just honoring, being able to be in the presence. And what happens is this whole other world opens up. I mean, it's magical. You start to see, you know, everybody sees shapes in the rocks, but they're real elders and they're talking to us. One of the common themes that I'm hearing that come through over and over again is respect and honor each other. You know, people are going to have differences of opinion. That's what the great leaders have always shown. But really, really see the beauty. Really see the beauty in everything. It's there. It's there no matter what. And I think even the negative things that are happening have a purpose to bring us back to our center, but bring us back to each other, bring us, you know, to connect with the land. So I'm really the most at peace when I'm out on the land, you know, just sitting and watching, and I'm getting messages all the time. You know, if you just look, you know, water carries memory. I did lots of crystal skull ceremonies. They're holding memory. You know, the food we eat, everything is kind of information versus digital information. So, yeah, I just feel like it's a profound time to be alive. We can name it what we want. We can interpret it as we want. And I think something else I want to say is that life is just a journey. I don't think it ends here. I think it is ongoing. You know, somebody told me a long time ago, you meet people through your journey. Some will stay with you, you know, and some move on and you move on, and it's just this endless flow. But it's really about perfecting that. So I think there's this interesting thing. We really have to go within We really have to listen to that voice because it's so important, and that's usually what gets squelched with people. At the same time, it's so important to make human connections, you know, and just love people. I mean, it's really simple. It's an important time for us to feel the heart. I mean, it really is about the heart, and encouraging each other. And so, if I may, I'd like to share some of these languages. So I'm totally conscious. I'm not really channeling when I do this, but this is kind of what comes through. And sometimes I'll recognize what guide it is, and sometimes it's just sort of energy, if I may. So thank you for letting me share. Shikotola kainen and washante. I act no washmod was keen and washante lo kane. Amo usukato shingir was sanin and washamputese. Ikutuash dingir was salmon and washante. It okaino moshote. Ikako ghost again was shanne moshante. I know what a kind of one show was sick to washaman was sanket to washankit was sane. I knew so was sukato shingir was samuno kind and washamputese. Modushe. It did a sanko, la kaino, shumotes, Ako, Uduste, get a son and a shamatese, Musta, Gina, what kind of actin or shumotuse, a sikatosh, and monosa, utese. Many other forms. But I feel it too. It's really, it's like I'm here, but I'm kind of step aside and these vibrations are here. But what I realize is all these guides are aspects of me, and I've been having these profound, deeper understandings, you know, when they talk about the matrix, that we're the matrix, each one of us has a connection. But I started seeing things, you know, I vision things, I see visual pictures, that everything is just points of light, which I think it is. And everything is like an access point. If you want to travel, if you want to dream. But we're getting to the point where we can do this physically. You know, it's really quantum. It's really fascinating. But what I'm seeing is that all these higher senses that we have that have been shut down are coming back online. So beyond the five senses, you know, beyond telepathy, clairaudience, clairsentience, you know, you can breathe things with your body, you can get different insights from things, and it's really fascinating. So, you know, I'm just being guided to bring groups of people together, probably do some kind of gatherings like that, but do these books, and then I just want to go out in the countryside and paint, you know.